Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and guys, it is the end of the quarter. We are all finding out things about our jobs, about how companies we like are doing, and I gotta be honest, I got the results of how well this podcast is doing, who's listening to it, and how many people are listening to it. And I was so surprised and so happy to hear the news about just how many people are listening. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who listens to the GSMC Marketing Podcast. I love doing it, and I hope to continue doing it for a very long time. So thank you for listening. From me, Mackenzie, and also from the entire GSMC Podcast Network family, because it's so funny, we really are a family. I love listening to all the other host podcasts. Right now, my favorite is the Beauty and the Tech podcast, although I am an old favorite of the Book podcast, definitely one of my favorites as well. If you enjoyed this podcast, I encourage you to go listen to the hundreds of others that we have, because we really do have such a wide selection, and there is so much content for you to enjoy. So, if you're interested, right now we're all in quarantine, so obviously things are, we're looking for things to do with our spare time. So, go over there and check out all the podcasts we have to offer. I promise you will not be disappointed. Speaking of things we've been doing with our spare time, today's episode is all about Target. We're talking about our favorite place to waste an hour, our favorite place to get our groceries, to get our bedding, to get our pots and pans, and hey, even clothing. I'm not going to lie to you guys, there is no shame in my Target game. I have bought multiple sweaters, 2 pairs of jeans, and a couple really nice dresses from Target, and I've only been living in the States for 9 months. So that's been a total of 5 Target runs, and I've been impressed every single time. Now, especially during the coronavirus and all of us being inside and in quarantine and self-isolating, it has definitely been useful to have Target be so easy for us to use and be at our disposal as much as it is. So I decided to dedicate an entire episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast to talk about our favorite store, Target, and the marketing that they use. Do not worry, though, if you are not interested in opening your own retail store or your store that will be similar to Target. Don't worry, this podcast episode is going to give you strategies and some tips and tricks of how you can take their ideas and use them towards your own marketing, even if you sell hairbrushes or contacts or soap. It does not matter. We have a little bit of something for everyone here. So thank you for listening, and let's get right into today's episode. To start off today's episode, I would love to talk about what is new in the marketing world. Talking about what is new in the marketing world is super important for us to start every podcast with, because I think it really helps ground our ideas and reflect on what bigger companies are doing, because I'm not saying that the people who listen to this podcast aren't the big companies I'm talking about, but a lot of people do own small businesses or work for smaller marketing firms, so they're looking for bigger ideas from these big companies. So it's definitely important to always reflect on what those big companies are up to, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our first news story is that Audible has the first Harry Potter audiobook, as read by Stephen Fry, streaming for free right now. The version most widely available in the U.S. was narrated by Jim Dale. The UK version, however, was read by Stephen Fry. And for a very long time, nothing to do with how wonderful a reader and actor and performer Jim Dale is, but a lot of American listeners really wanted that Stephen Fry version. Well, Audible says that it is doing this as a part of their J.K. Rowling #Harry Potter at Home program, in which the author is relaxing the usual copyright permissions to make the story available to more children and adults who are likely stuck at home and looking for something to do during the coronavirus. So this is a really great thing that, one, Stephanie Meyer is doing. Thank you, Steph. I hope I'm on a nickname basis with you now. But two, it's also very cool for Audible listeners and very cool for Audible that they are expanding their reach and that they are noticing their market. They are noticing that people are obviously at home right now, and they are looking for a way to expand their audience and hopefully get a few new customers during this pandemic, which is super important in marketing to see your opportunities and strike when that iron is hot. But there are a few small catches. If you're in North America and get hooked on Fry's take of the book, finding it more magical than the former one, then the other books is going to be up to you. Even if you sign up for an Audible account, the rest of the series on Audible is read by Jim Dale. To be clear, Dale's version is great. I'm not going to lie to you, I've listened to both. I have a friend who lives in the UK and she has sent it to me. Both versions are great. I think it's super great that they are letting you listen to both now, though, because I honestly feel like it's two different stories, one read by two different people. You get a different take on it for sure. If you listen to Audible, if you're a fan of their marketing, please let me know in the review down below or reach out through social media. Our second news story is that Starbucks now requires employees to wear face coverings at work. In a statement, Starbucks said they've been provided employees with a tutorial to make their own non-medical face coverings with supplies available in stores if employees don't have their own. The company also said they're planning to source face masks as well as thermometers so that employees can opt out to have their temperature taken. They said in a statement, "Our goal remains to continue exceeding all health expert recommendations in order to make sure partners feel supported with the best science and facts available to us." Starbucks is open for drive-thru only and delivery in the US and Canada. So I think Starbucks has been acting extremely appropriate and extremely market conscious during this pandemic, and it's been very interesting to watch as a consumer, but also very interesting to watch as someone who works in the marketing industry. And this is just another really great example of that. They are taking the extra steps needed. They are going that extra mile because they understand that the health and safety of their customers is important to them and is important to their business. So this is just another example of how Starbucks is really taking the lead and really taking that initiative to do a little bit extra, make sure they're a little bit extra safe for their customers, but also for their employees, which does reflect very well on the company. Obviously, we want to say that that is not the only reason they are doing this, but we're not going to lie. It's a part of it. They do look good when they do this. And so I do think that's an important part to remember. Our third news story is that Walmart stores have begun mandating one-way aisles. Walmart has begun using floor markers to direct shoppers to one-way shopping throughout stores and the country. Walmart said in a statement, "We always want people to feel welcome at Walmart. And we know that in ordinary times, a store is a gathering place for members of a community to connect and socialize. We look forward to a time when that is again the case. However, we now want to prioritize the health and safety by encouraging customers to do their shopping at a distance from others and then head home." As the COVID-19 situation continues to develop, our leaders and operations team will continue to listen to the advice from medical experts, associates, and customers, and consider how we can best serve people while helping slow the spread of the virus. The health and safety of our associates and customers is what matters the most. This is another really great example, very similar to the Starbucks example, in the way of they are doing what is best for their company, they are doing what is best for their employees, and for their customers as well. However, from a marketing standpoint, it is important to point out that they're also doing the best to show that they do care and it reflects great on the company. So in the end, it is a win-win-win for everyone. So let me know what you think of Walmart's one-way aisles in the comments down below or reach out through social media. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, we are going to be talking about some Target marketing stats and facts. So I'll be right back with more of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and don't you worry, because I'm coming back.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again and again, black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoy me hosting this podcast, please let us know in the review down below or reach out through social media. We are very active on the GSMC Marketing Twitter. I would love to continue the conversation with all of you over there. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to jump over on our Twitter, tweet me, direct message me, whatever you want to do, and ask away. That's what I'm here for. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear your concerns. So please feel free to hop over there and reach out, because I would love to hear from you. It's that simple. What else is very simple is how freaking easy it is to use Target. Whether you're shopping online, whether you're actually going to a store, Target promises a great experience no matter what. And honestly, I just heard myself back and I was like, damn, that sounds like an ad for Target, but don't worry. This episode is not sponsored by Target, although Target, if you're interested, hit me up on Twitter. We could talk. No. The reason I'm talking about Target is because that is the center, the core, the main theme of today's episode. I'm sure you've all seen a Target commercial. I'm sure you all follow them on social media. If not, you've probably seen a post or at least two from them in the past. They are the kings of marketing, and we can learn a lot from them, even if we are not in the business of selling our goods in a retail option, or if we're a grocery store. It does not matter. You can still use Target's strategies and their advertising techniques for your business, big or small. So let's jump right into today's episode with some stats and facts about Target. Number 1, Target is worth $75.4 billion in total revenue. Fact number 2, there are 1,871 stores in the U.S. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. We'll get into it more later. But as a lot of you know, I'm Canadian. And yes, there are no Targets in Canada. I know. How do we survive? How do we do it? But luckily in the States, you guys do have that 1,871 stores. So I'm okay now that I live here. There are plenty of Targets for me to go to. Fact number 3. 5% of Target's profits go back into the communities that surround their areas, which is just super great. 1, from a marketing standpoint, that makes the company look great. And 2, it's great for the community. It's great all around, guys. It is a win-win-win. Number 4, the original name for Target was actually not Target. When New York native George D. Dayton opened the business, The original name for Target wasn't Target. When New York native George D. Dayton opened the business as Target Corporation in 1902, he did it under the name Goodfellows Dry Good Company. The original name for Target wasn't Target. When New York native George D. Dayton opened the business in 1902, he did it under the name Goodfellows Dry Goods Company. It wasn't until 2000, after several more name changes, that the business officially became the Target Corporation. So guys, that is the most marketing fact I think we've ever said. That's not true. We obviously have said a lot of marketing facts on this podcast, but it shows you that as long as you are true to your brand, as long as you are true to the idea of your brand, it is okay to pivot within it. They always sold things that were essential to the household. But what became essential to the household changed since 1902, so their name had to change as well. Number 5, Target made its first $1 billion in sales in 1979. In 1993, Target expanded into the city of Chicago, where they opened 11 stores on the same day. Talk about big business, guys. That is insane. Number 7, Target tried and failed to expand into Canada. Wah, wah, wah. It was sad. It was tragic. It was fun while we had it, but sadly, us Canadians really just want a good Tim Hortons and a place to buy our hockey goods, so it wasn't really needed for us, you know? But we do understand what you like about it, for sure. Number 8. In the 1990s, the Washington Monument underwent some long overdue repairs that cost up towards $5 million. And while you might think that these restorations would have been paid for with tax money, they were actually covered fully by Target, both through fundraising efforts and direct contributions. Again, just another great example of Target doing something good and coming out looking good in the process. That is definitely a very big part of their marketing efforts, is that they want to be a part of the community so that they can be a part of your home and at the end of the day sell you more stuff, but it's stuff you believe your household needs. Now, I didn't want to just say your household does need, because I've bought some very dumb stuff at Target. I'm not going to lie to you. I've bought some very, very dumb stuff at Target. But did I have fun doing it? Absolutely. And that's really the point of Target. That is really their brand, for sure. Number 9, the chain stopped selling cigarettes in the 1990s. So again, this is just such a great example of their brand Their idea, their central core is that they are selling you things for your home, for your life. It is your lifestyle store. Whether that is food, clothing, furniture, whatever it may be, they want to sell it to impact your life. And for a very long time, smoking was a lot of people's lives. So they had to sell it. But once it wasn't a part of your life, it wasn't a part of the average person's life, it wasn't a need, it was more of a addiction, some might call it, it became unneeded for them to sell it. So in the 1990s, that is when they shifted and pivoted their marketing plan when it came to smoking. Number 10, the median age of a Target shopper is 40 years old. This is super important to remember, especially when you're thinking of their marketing, because that is their key demographic. That is who all of their ads, their commercials, and their merchandise is targeted towards. However, I can guarantee that you have seen an ad for Target that has responded to you, and you may not be 40 years old. So what I would love to do, we have some more facts to go through, but what I would love to do is for everyone to write down in the review down below, or you can reach out through social media. Maybe this would be a fun social media thing for us to do together. Tweet me and tell me what Target ad spoke to you, and maybe you're 40, maybe you're not, I don't know. But tweet me and let me know what ad spoke to you and why. Number 11, they're the 8th largest retailer in America, which makes sense to me if, they made their first billion in 1979. The company is worth $75 billion. It makes sense that they're the 8th largest retailer. I believe that. Number 12, Vermont was the last state to get a Target store. Come on, Vermont, catch up. Time to get going, time to get with the times, time to get Target. Just because Canada doesn't have it doesn't mean you can skip on it either. Number 13, Bullseye, who is their mascot, for those of you that don't know, it's a little dog, was introduced in the late 90s. So after they stopped selling cigarettes, how interesting. It's almost as if their marketing pivoted towards being more family friendly. Number 14, there are more than 1,800 stores in the United States. That makes sense if they are the 8th largest retailer in America. Number 15, e-commerce sales grew 26%, just 3.5% of all Target sales that came from the company of their online stores. Target is actually one of the strange situations for stores similar to Target where their online sales don't do as well as their retail stores. And I would really love to challenge the idea that that's because it's almost fun to go to a Target. Or if you don't find it fun, you find it fun to watch people on the internet go to Target. I watched this one YouTuber, this one influencer. Her name's Alicia Marie. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of her. She is constantly at Target, and I freaking love watching her go to Target, and I freaking love going to Target. It's a weird bit of, relaxation. I don't know if I want to call it that, but it's calming. It's always really cool there. There's stuff to look at. You might end up buying something you didn't think you need, but turns out you really, really need. It's a good time, guys. I don't know what to tell you, but I do want to ask, who else has fun at Target? Who else enjoys that experience? If you do, reach out through social media or write it in the review down below. It would mean a lot to me to find out how you like to spend your time at Target. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take another break from the GSMC Marketing Podcast, but I will be right back, so stay tuned for more.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on tonight's episode, we are talking about one of my favorite topics, Target shopping. Target, first of all, Target is my safe place. It is calm. It is organized. I can buy coffee there. It has all the things I want to do. I have been very hurt by not being able to go there and hang out during this pandemic. I have just been walking around my apartment waiting for Target to allow me back in, to not have to wait in a line 6 feet apart from other people. Because, guys, we talked about it before. We went through some stats and facts. Target, for a lot of people, is just a fun thing to do, or it's a fun thing to watch. It's almost a part of entertainment. And why is that? It's because their marketing tells you it's a part of your entertainment. Their marketing tells you and convinces you that it is a fun place to go to. It's not just a place you have to go. It's a place you want to go. And they don't just do this through their commercials, through their ads, through their social media. They do it through their product placement in TV shows, through influencers, through any kind of entertainment. They make it seem like it's an appealing option for you to spend your time. And therefore, when you're spending your time there, you're shopping, you're enjoying yourself, and you'll come back again for that same experience. Now, you might not own a Target. You might not own a company that is similar to Target at all. In fact, if you do, I'd love to know. I'd love to know what it is. And please tell me about it more. If it's in Seattle or if I'm ever in your area, I would love to go to it. But you might be asking yourself, why should I listen to this podcast episode? How will this podcast episode help me? Well, I'm about to tell you. Because it doesn't matter if you run a Target. It doesn't matter if your company is anything close to Target. In fact, it's probably not, like I already said. You can still use these 8 strategies in your own marketing to help your company grow, to help your company change and learn something and push yourself in a new direction. Something we've been talking about a lot since the coronavirus happened is how to push our marketing during this time. Now, obviously, this time is filled with chaos for everyone. And honestly, if you're in a situation that's hard and you're unable to focus on your marketing right now, then don't. Do not take this as me telling you have to do that. But if you're in a situation where you find yourself looking for something to do, if you find yourself wanting to push yourself, or you think this would be a perfect time to kick up your marketing a bit, then absolutely try these pivots, or absolutely try listening to any of our other podcast episode ideas. I've done a 4-part series on the coronavirus and how it could impact your marketing, or what you could be doing in place of it. So, yeah, go, push, do what you need to do, because marketing is something that's not waiting for you. You're waiting to do it. So let's get into this. I got 8 strategies for you that Target has used that I think would help your company, big or small, doesn't matter what you sell. Number 1, consistent branding in both in-person, in retail, at your shop, and online. If you go into a Target store right now, you'll have to stand 6 feet away from people. But more importantly, you will get the same experience that you get online, minus getting the free Starbucks coffee. Or it's not free, but you know what I mean. It's a part of the experience when you go into a Target store. But it's the same branding experience. It's the same colors. It's the same font. It's the same theme. It's the same feel. Bullseye, the dog, will probably make an appearance. He made an appearance on the package I got delivered today from Target. So you are getting that same branding experience. So what I need you to do, and I need you to be honest while you do it, go online, go to your store's webpage, and ask yourself, does this fit our brand? And go through it element by element, piece by piece, and get critical, get mean about it, tear it apart, get in there. Because if you're not critical about it, then other people aren't going to care enough to keep going through. And that's the truth. You need to be hard on it so that you can create a better product. So really make sure that your online presence and your in-person presence are consistent. Number 2, your product. This is something that gets neglected in marketing because there's so much fun stuff we can put around something that isn't that great. And there's so much glitter we can throw at something that isn't that great. But at the end of the day, you're going to get a one-time buyer because they're not going to come back. They're not going to be a return on your investment. You're going to waste all of that money throwing the glitter on something that wasn't really that good. So right now is the perfect time to improve your product. Find out what's wrong with it. Find out what's great about it and improve. Do what you have to do. Do that hard work to make sure your product is as good as Target's product. Now, I understand Target has 1 million products and they have a whole dollar section that is filled with stuff that they just put glitter on. But also, it's $1. They understand that they're just putting glitter on it. So if you have stuff that belongs in a dollar section, then it better only cost $1. I want your product to be so freaking good that it's at Target's level so that when we throw glitter on it, it just enhances it. Number 3, know your audience. So we talked earlier in the stats and facts that their median age of a customer was 40 years old. Who's your demographic? Who is your audience? And then again, go through your site and say, if I was a 40-year-old woman, would I like this? If I was a 17-year-old boy, would I like this? Get into the headspace of whomever your audience is, and then look at your site through their eyes. You really have to spend that time getting into a different headspace so that you can create better content and you can make that sale a whole lot quicker. Number 4, expand your reach. Target isn't just one store in New York. No, they expanded their reach. They put Starbucks inside. They don't just sell dry goods anymore like they did in 1902. They sell clothing and books and furniture and liquor and anything your heart could really want. It's at Target. Guys, I was Liberty Bell from Glow for Halloween. I bought my entire costume from Target, piece by piece. I had to make that thing. But guess what? They had everything. They had glitter sticker stars. They had an American flag that I could turn into a skirt. They had a white jumpsuit. They had a blonde wig. They had everything you could imagine and more. Target has expanded their reach, and I would like to challenge you that even right now, even if it's not financially responsible for you to expand your reach, but have a little bit of fun and imagine what expanding your reach could look like. What are you moving towards? What are you trying to improve? What What are your hopes and your dreams for your company? Because you can't think small. You have to think big. And while you're thinking big, your marketing can grow within that. Number 5, convenience. Target makes everything so easy for their customers. It is 3 clicks and it's on the way to your house online. It is 1 aisle away in person with a friendly person telling you where everything is and helping you on your way. Everything is easy and convenient. And even if your brand isn't Target, so you're not trying to just be convenient, giving them your product, giving your customer their product that they've bought from you should be convenient. It should be easy. It should not be complicated. So constantly check your buy flow and make sure that it is easy to go from purchase to checkout to delivery. Make it an easy process. Do not overcomplicate things, and make it enjoyable and not sufferable. Number 6, price. Again, a great example is that Target makes a lot of stuff that's not well built, not well put together, not really useful, but guess what? It's in the dollar section. It's in the dollar section because they know it's not really put together, and you'll probably use it once and throw it away, or it'll become junk lying around your house. What is a reasonable price for your product? What is a reasonable price that you can still make a profit, but they're not feeling ripped off? Ask yourself that. Ask yourself if your product is the right quality for the price you are charging it. And hey, maybe the answer is you're charging too low. Bump it up, girl. Get it up there. You can do it. I believe in you. If your product's worth $50 and you're charging $20, what are you doing? Charge them $55. But if your product is worth $20 and you're charging them $60, what are you doing? Charge them $30. Charge them $40. You just need to be aware of your price and who your audience is and what they are willing to pay for your product. Number 7, promotions. Guys, promotions are great. They're going to help you sell more. They're going to help your customers come in and stay for longer and follow you to wait for another promotion. And honestly, they're a fun thing to do in marketing. It's that simple. It's where we get to be a little bit creative. It's our candy, you get to do a fun promotion like, hey, who can name our rebranding of our store? Who can name our mascot? Who wants to come take a photo with our mascot? Enter to win a $100 reward card. There are just so many different options for a fun promotion that are going to help your company, help your audience, and help you get a little extra money in your pocket. Number 8, and this is the most important one when we think about Target and what they've done. I've talked about it so much already in this episode, but let me say it one more time for you. They know when to pivot. They know when to change their marketing slightly. They know when to alter wordings or phrases or their product or their prices or their location, right? Like, they definitely put a lot of money into expanding into Canada, but then they knew when to back out. They knew when it wasn't working. They knew that in Chicago would like 11 different Targets in one day. You got to be able to pivot. You have to be able to stay on your toes. And Target is such a good example of why and how you can do that. Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I will be back next time with a whole new episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I did already say that, so good night.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app, and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.